Hello and welcome back to R Slash Entitledparents and our first story. Mother thinks she has rights to my child and treats him like a doll to show off. Honestly, I just need a place to vent. My mother is the entitled parent in this story. Her and I have never had a great relationship. She resented me growing up because she was a single mom and never wanted children. She would never spend time or engage with me and would instead throw money at me to show she cared. Now I'm grown up and independent and just had a baby of my own, and she feels entitled to my son. I've made certain decisions about his upbringing that I'm trying to adhere to. Nothing crazy, just trying to avoid using unnecessary products on him. No baby lotion, no diaper cream unless he gets a rash, homemade baby food, etc. He's now 4 months old and it's been working well for us. My mother is very insistent that she gets to see him 2 to 3 times a week. She refers to herself as Glamma, a mix of glam and grandma, and has already procured a few items that say best grandma ever. I have been very hesitant to let her watch him for extended periods of time. I didn't have the best upbringing and honestly believe she would not do what's best for my son. She has always been a very materialistic person and extremely concerned about the image she presents to other people. So I get anxiety thinking of him staying overnight at her place. She keeps asking for him to spend the night, saying she's doing it for me because I need the sleep, but I know it's because she likes the novelty of having a baby around. She first started asking for him to spend the night at her place when he was 2 weeks old, and I've said no every time. When she was first allowed to babysit him, I had to set ground rules because she kept trying to plan parties whenever he was over. She was trying to show him off to all her friends and neighbors. The thing is, he's a baby. Large groups of people are not good for babies because their immune systems are weak, and our city has had a number of measles outbreaks. I had to tell her repeatedly that she couldn't be inviting groups of strangers over to pass him around like a doll. She finally agreed, and I let him spend a few hours at her place. Still, she kept asking for him to spend the night. She also calls me every day asking when he's going to visit her again and offering to take him off my hands for a few days like he's an inconvenience. My husband had to go to BC for a wedding, so I was alone for a week. It was hard. 6 days into it, I was at the end of my rope. I had barely had any adult interaction and had only slept 3 hours a day. So I called my mother up and asked her if my son and I can spend the night at her place. I needed sleep, but didn't want to leave him there without me all night. I figured this would be a good compromise. I would be available if anything went wrong, and she would get off my back about him staying over. She had been nagging me for weeks about how I should just give him pablum and he would sleep through the night. He was a preemie, and our pediatrician said to wait for solids, but she thought she knew best. I had to constantly tell her not to feed him anything but his milk. The night came where I was supposed to go to her place. I get there, and there are 15 other people over. Turns out she was having a dinner party. Whether or not she had this arranged before I asked to come over, I don't know. I told her my son goes to bed at 8 and I really needed to sleep. She assured me everyone would be gone by 9. That didn't happen. They ended up starting a bonfire, and she's trying to get me to sit by the fire with my son. I tell her I don't want him around all that smoke. He's only 4 months old, so he needs to stay in the house. Besides, it's 8 and he needs to go to bed. She tells me I'm being unreasonable and should just let him sleep by the fire. I put my foot down and say no. He ends up in his bassinet, and I'm waiting for the party to be done so I can sleep. Because my husband has been gone and I've been dealing with the baby on my own for 6 days, my sleep schedule has been completely out of whack. I was going to take some sleeping pills to get a good night's rest, and she was going to feed him through the night. So now I'm waiting for her to come in and take over for me. 10 rolls around and she pops in for a drink before heading back out. I ask her again how late the party is going since I'm desperate to get some sleep. She tells me it should be over soon, again, and that she can't stay in the house because she has guests over and she needs to entertain them. 10:45 comes and she's still at the bonfire. Again, she comes in to grab something and she sees that I'm still up. She tells me I'm being silly and should just go to sleep. And can't do that until someone else can watch my son. The someone being her, since I asked and she offered. I reminded her that I was there to sleep and was waiting on her. She then tells me I'm being ungrateful since she had this party planned and she couldn't just ask everyone to leave. She said I should just go to sleep and not worry about my son so much. I tell her she can't be taking care of him if she's outside. She wouldn't even hear him if he woke up. She said I should stop stressing, that people will leave soon, and went back to her party. 11:30 comes around, and I am so tired I start crying. I can't sleep, and I wasn't getting the help I asked for. I decided to just take my son and go home. If I was doing it on my own, I'd rather be around my own things in my own bed. I pack him up and send her a text saying she was too preoccupied to watch my son and that we were going home. She didn't even see my message until 12:30. How well could she have watched him if she didn't leave her bonfire until then? I ended up getting a string of messages saying it was unfair of me to take him away, that I shouldn't say she didn't care because she spent $700 on him that day, so obviously she cared. I never mentioned anything about caring or not caring. She said I was being ungrateful because if I had stayed, I would have been able to sleep in the morning while she took care of him. I don't trust for 1 minute that she would have done right by him. Her guests were taking up all her time. A week goes by and she asks twice again if he can stay the night at her place. I have no faith in her watching him overnight, but I agree to let her watch him during the day, Saturday. She says she's going to sleep in, but I should pick him up around 9 or 10. 11 rolls around and I haven't heard from her. I give her a call and she says she just got home and that they can't pick him up until later, so I should just drop him off at her place. She was supposed to pick him up because she lives 30 minutes out of town on an acreage, but drives right past our home when she goes shopping. I try to tell her it's too inconvenient to drive him to her place, I'll just keep him with me. But she wears me down and I eventually make the drive out to her place. I tell her I'll pick him up in the evening around 9:30 or 10. At 5, I get a text from her saying she's decided to have a bonfire and has invited a bunch of people over. Seriously? The same exact thing as a week before? I tell her again I don't want my son sitting out in the hot sun or hanging around the smoke from the fire. I tell her I don't care what she does, but I will pick up my son if she can't watch him. She tells me she is watching him and that I don't need to take him. I go to get him and I'm pissed off. I've asked her time and time again not to have him around groups of strangers or to have him around smoke, and she just won't listen. I didn't even want to send him to her place, but she just kept nagging that she should watch him. So I planned my day around him being with her and then had to cancel a D&D game in the middle of the session because she couldn't respect my wishes. When I pick him up, she starts yelling that I'm being ungrateful. She was doing a great job watching him and how much all her guests are loving him. She tells me I'm unreasonable and rude. To top it off, she tells me that she's going to tell my Baba about my behavior and that Baba will give me a talking to. What the F, woman? I should have known better than to try to trust her. She insists on babysitting my dog every weekend. He has pancreatitis and can't eat fatty foods. He gets extremely sick, but she ignores it when I say this and continues to feed him bacon because he likes it. If she can't take care of a dog, how the hell did I think she could take care of a child? And the worst is how she keeps acting like a victim, saying I'm treating her unfairly. Man, I really needed to get this off my chest. You have to share with my kid. I maliciously comply. So this happened this morning, and I'm still laughing my butt off about it because I love malicious compliance. I didn't know if this would be better posted here or there, but I thought that it would be fine to post here. This morning I was on my way to school drinking a coffee drink that I make at home nearly every morning. This drink is the best drink for waking up in the morning and for staying awake all day, as a university student typically needs to do. For your information, my morning drink usually consists of 8 shots of blonde espresso, 3 pumps of marshmallow-flavored syrup, topped off with a bit of milk. So for the most part, it's nearly pure caffeine and sugar. Don't berate me, I know this isn't healthy at all, but it's so damn good. Anyways, I was riding on the bus to go to school when a friend calls me on the phone and we were talking quietly for a while. A few stops later, entitled mom gets on the bus with her entitled child, who looks to be about 4-ish. I was talking to my friend when we get to the topic of coffee, and I was talking about my drink. The kid must have heard me mention the marshmallow syrup in my drink because I see him go to his mother and whisper something in her ear. I hear the mother tell him, well, go ask her. Next thing I know, this kid comes up to me with an empty sippy cup and asks me to share my drink with him. I tell the kid no, because it's not good for you. He starts bawling and his mother yells at me, well, why don't you share with him? I tell her, this isn't a drink that's good for kids. To which entitled mom replies, well, it has marshmallow syrup in it, so surely it's not that bad. Share with him and don't be greedy. You have to share with him. I was in a pissy mood and just wanted to be left alone, so I decided to maliciously comply. I took the kid's cup and filled it completely. This was about half my drink, so I'd estimate 4 shots or so of espresso and gave it back to the kid. Kid takes the drink and downs it quickly like a champ. "Thanks, miss. That was really yummy," the kid says politely. "You're welcome." "See, that wasn't so hard, now was it? My son seems to really like your drink. What was in it so I can make it at home for him?" Entitled Mom asks. "It's mostly blonde espresso with 3 pumps marshmallow syrup and a splash of 2% milk," I reply. "You gave my kid espresso? What the F is wrong with you?" Entitled Mom explodes angrily. The bus driver then decides to intervene and asks if Entitled Mom is bothering me, so I say yes, and he tells her to leave me alone or get off the bus. Entitled Mom shuts up, and I enjoy the rest of my ride to school in silence. Have fun with your super caffeinated child, Entitled Mom. Next time, use your brain before allowing your child to beg for a treat from a stranger. Well, guys, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you later.